The difference though, now after you put your down payment, is you're going to have a lot less money left over to do any of those other things. And at the end of the day, your monthly payment will still relatively be the same. Hey, how's it going? Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of The Real Deal. This week, we're going to be talking about selling and buying. So if you are a seller, somebody that purchased a house in the last year, you have a ton of equity in your house. And I've had these conversations with clients that are thinking about already upgrading their homes. And that's great. You know, maybe you purchased a house in a particular neighborhood that you didn't fall in love with after all, or maybe you bought a house that was smaller than what you originally wanted to. You have the perfect opportunity to upgrade your home. However, this conversation comes up a lot with clients that are thinking about selling and buying. And that the question that comes up is it a good time to buy? Now, that question is going to be subjective. It's going to depend on a lot of different things, right? So if you're trying to buy a house with minimum down and you're trying to get into the house to save money versus paying rent, that's not going to happen. If you're going to buy a house, if you're paying it with 3% down, more than likely you're going to pay a couple $100, maybe $200 more than if you were renting something equivalent to that house, right? So let's say we're looking at a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and right now that's $365,000, $370,000, right? That mortgage payment will be around $2,000. You can rent that same house for about $1,900 a month, right? So you're going to pay slightly more to buy that house than you would be to rent. But at the end of the day, you are building equity. You are building long-term wealth. This is your own house. To me, 100%. I mean, I'm biased. I'm a realtor. That's my job to make sure that I'm being optimistic in every conversation. But to me, I would rather pay an extra $100, $200, $300 a month to own something versus renting, right? So it just depends on what your view is and what you value. If you value saving $200, $300 a month and you're comparing a 3-bedroom, 2-bath rental versus a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that you can purchase, then if those $200-$300 a month are significant, they affect you significantly, then of course, make the decision and rent for the next couple of years. But if you see the value of homeownership, then those extra $200-$300 a month, I mean, it's absolutely worth it. Now, switching back gears to selling and buying. So if you're putting more than 20%, more than the minimum down payment, if you're putting 20% down, then 100% it's going to be cheaper to purchase a house than it is going to be to rent. I can almost guarantee that, just because with the larger down payment, you're going to have less money that you're financing. And obviously you're also not going to have private mortgage insurance. Now, I'll give you, and I have a client in particular that was thinking about selling and buying, upgrading into a home. And that conversation came up. Is this a good time to sell and buy? And I said, this is the best time as a seller to sell and buy, because you're going to take advantage of the market. You're going to take advantage of your home being worth more, and you're going to be able to get a low interest rate. Now, what happens, let me give you a scenario. Let's say right now you have somebody that's looking at a $600,000 house to upgrade to, and they're selling a house, just to make the math easy. Let's say they're selling a $350,000 house, right? Starter house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and they're looking to upgrade that particular home. So they're going from $350,000 to $600,000. Those two houses are going to appreciate in value at the same rate, and they're going to depreciate in value at the same rate. Now, the difference, though, is going to be how much money you're going to have left over after your down payment. So if you have a $350,000 house that you're selling, and let's say you're walking away right now, let's say you got a really good deal on the house, you paid $150,000 for it, you're walking away with $180,000, right? Net. Right now, if you go and you buy that $600,000 house after 20% down, right, which is $120K, you're going to have still left over $60,000 to pay off debt, to take a vacation, to buy a car, put a kid through college, whatever it is that you want to do, right? Now, let's say that wasn't the case. Let's say that your house was not worth $350,000. Let's say it's worth, $50,000 less. Let's just make the math even easier. So let's say now, instead of you walking away with $180,000, now you're only walking away with $130,000, right? And that same $600,000 house, instead of it being $600,000, now it's $550,000, right? So we're taking $50,000 away from both houses. Your down payment on that $550,000 house would be $110,000, right? The difference, though, now after you put your down payment, is you're going to have a lot less money left over to do any of those other things. And at the end of the day, your monthly payment will still relatively be the same between the two homes. If you would have sold at $350,000 and bought at $600,000, or sold at $300,000 and bought at $550,000, your monthly payment is going to be essentially the same. But the difference is you're going to have a lot less money left over for you to upgrade the vehicles, to put the kids through college, to take that vacation. Okay. So if you've been thinking about selling and buying, it is 100% the best time to do that, because interest rates are still historically low. Even though they've gone up over the last couple months, they are still historically low. I can promise you that. Right now, with the 700 credit score, you can probably get a 3.25% interest rate. That same credit score would have got you a 5% 4 or 5 years ago. So interest rates are still extremely low, but they will progressively get higher. Okay. So hopefully this gives you a lot of insight. If you're a first-time home buyer, this gives you a good idea. If you're if you're gauging between renting or owning a home, and of course, if you're selling and buying, this should give you a really good idea on what your next move should be. Reach out to me. I look forward to hearing from you. Take care.